how summer treat you with your? Was it nice to have the break there from teaching? Right when we ended, right? It's like right around February. I think we did our last show. That's like at the point where you're like, I'm almost getting to the point where I'm done for the school year. You know what I mean? So
I was an idiot. I will tell you, I'm still an idiot. I coach all year round. So I'm coaching youth football now, and then the flag football season at my middle school will start. And I have the reputation. Like they look at me and go, "You're flag football coach." I guess, yeah, I am. So I'm going to have that starting up here soon, and then wrestling will go in October for the middle school. After middle school wrestling is done, high school wrestling season starts. I'm still going to be coaching my youth football team during that time because we're in Pop Warner, so we could be up into the regionals by that point. And then February on, I was coaching wrestling, like the freestyle and Greco-Roman. So I was learning a new style of wrestling, kind of like doing my own coaches clinic. But I wrestled from October, all the way through July. Damn, the last practice was ended in July.
That's a long time. And just because you're saying wrestling, can I bring in our guest tonight? I guess bring in our wrestling guest here, Brian, the main man Johnson over here, a Niners fan. So we got a different perspective. You talked about we're going to have a lot of guests on the show. Brian, you're the first one here for season 2. You'll probably join us a few more times. I know throughout the year you're always have good funny takes on the game, and you have good insight. You follow the NFL very much. So thanks for joining us tonight on the show, Jimmy. What do you say we get this thing started? And the first question I got for you is this: as we're getting into the NFL season here, what are some of the biggest storylines that you're kind of looking to this year as the NFL is getting started? Like, what's kind of standing out to you?
Well, I guess the most recent since this last stretch of preseason games, it's the fact that they're actually starting to call them. Like they're telling, we don't need to play the last quarter. That's not been normal. Preseason has already been a joke. Like Nico and I say on our show that it's up until week 3 is when the preseason actually ends, and then you're kind of into everything. I mean, the Bengals were 0-2 at the start of the season that they went to the Super Bowl in. So it's interesting. Gonna be interesting to see how these teams are able to come back and bounce back. I think we're always going to struggle in the first few weeks of the season with this collective bargaining agreement because they're not going to – they've taken themselves out of the practice facility in the offseason. So they're behind. They're not learning the offenses the way they should be. I mean, look at Trey Lance getting traded from San Francisco to Dallas. Like that was the shitty new toy you gave up 3 first-round picks for, and we can't work with him. We're going to go with a 7th-round guy and a guy that was let go by 2 other teams to be your quarterbacks and let Trey Lance go with those 3 first-round picks. Okay, you're lucky you hit on Brock Purdy, and we'll see if Brock Purdy's going to be good after that injury. But that's where I'm interested to see, like, who's going to be the best coming out of this preseason, quote unquote, because it's not a preseason.
Yeah. That's a good point there. I kind of have that's one I'm kind of thinking what you guys think. Jonathan Taylor, does he actually get traded to a contender where it actually matters? Does he go to I don't know, does he go to your Broncos where it makes that maybe a little bit different? Does he go to Miami, like something like that? Like, to me, Jimmy, that's a big storyline. Brian, what do you think about Jonathan Taylor maybe headed to one of those teams?
Yeah, I mean, I want him anywhere near the Eagles, but if he could go anywhere else.
They can't have everybody. The Eagles can't have everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a lot.
They're doing everything they can to
Jimmy, I would think you'd be voting for us week 1 because I have a feeling Purdy's going to dice up the Steelers. So
the Steelers, I'm actually more scared of them than the Ravens this upcoming season. It's been the Ravens as like the other team. Kenny Pickett looks good, and Mike Tomlin is a witch. So that's going to be a tough matchup. I am hoping that you win. I always want to see other AFC North teams lose.
I see like 34-10. I don't think they're going to come close.
But it's going to be – I think they're going to be so much further ahead than they were at the beginning of last season. So they're going to get to a point where – because they were good. They were hot towards the end. They could have made the playoffs if they had just a little bit better of a record initially. So
did they start Mitchell Trubisky last year? Was he the starter? Yeah, so you can't start Mitchell. That's never allowed. Never starting Mitchell.
It's hilarious because he was the guy that was drafted into that situation initially with Mike Glennon in Chicago. Like, Glennon started the first 6 games until he was so bad that Chicago was like, you better put in the kid. Then they did, and they went to the playoffs and double doinked out of it. And they did the same thing with Fields. It's like, no, play the kid. Okay. we'll see what happens.
My other storyline, Jimmy, this kind of will come to you, then Brian, I'll let you answer the question after Jimmy, is who will emerge as the fourth best team in the AFC? Because I feel like, we kind of like now have it figured out. KC, Buffalo, Cincinnati. Like, who is
Cincinnati, Buffalo?
Yeah. Okay, we'll get you. We can go technicalities there, but like we have Jets. We have like the Jets that are fighting to get in that conversation. The Ravens that are fighting to get in that conversation. Miami's fighting to get in that like, who's one of those teams? Like, is it just going to be those three? Like, dominating the AFC again? There's got to be another team that steps it up, right? Am I missing that team? Is it the Jets? Everybody seems to want to go there, Jimmy.
No, I think the other teams in the AFC West are going to be, they're in a more solidified position, and they're at the point now where they have to prove something. The Chargers and the Raiders. If Josh McDaniels is going to work out, he's going to have to make it work early in the season. And if the Chargers are going to do anything to get that stink of the playoffs off of themselves from last year, this is the year to make sure that they can solidify Herbert as their guy that can push them over the hump. So I think those two teams are going to be itching to prove themselves. And I don't know if the Broncos are going to be a total turnaround, but I don't think it can't be too much worse than what it was. That was really bad. And the preseason has looked way better. He's been able to actually do some things in the preseason. So there's silver linings, but honestly, right now it feels like nobody's ready, which it's a good thing they have an extra week of practice, but I feel like everybody is behind. It's like the start of a new school year and you forgot to implement everything. So you're like just printing stuff off 20 minutes before class starts.
And I remember, and you always say this on your podcast, do you believe in that theory that they don't do enough in the offseason? I've heard you all the way back to last year, last summer before last season, you talking about that they just don't have enough practice time anymore. Brian, who real quick do you think could push those three teams in the AFC? Is the Jets, somebody else?
I think the Ravens. I think Jackson's going to have a bounce back year, and Odell Beckham and Zach Flowers is going to help a lot.
Well, your co-host on TMB podcast agrees with you there. I guess great minds think alike. Tyler, I don't know, Tyler. You got the Jets there. I don't know. I do think the Jets. We'll get into division predictions here in a little bit, so I'll save some of that for that. My other storyline was who in the NFC is pushing Philadelphia or San Francisco now? Like, are those two teams just dominating again, or is there a team that's going to – and if you look at the NFC, man, what a weird conference. Like, right? You look at it off the bat, you're like, the Saints, well, do I believe in the Saints really? And then you go to the next, so I don't know. Then you go to the Giants, you're like, Cowboys. So I don't know. What do you think?
You could make a case for Detroit being third best in the NFC with the way they finished last season and the fact that they have a lot of the same guys around. Dan Campbell's still the head coach. Nico and I we made the prediction on our show that they're going to win the NFC North because this past week we did both the AFC and NFC North predictions. So right now, I think that they would be another team that if they gel the way that they did and they continue to progress, they're probably the next best. But for now, it is Philly, it's San Francisco. Who's going to make less mistakes? Who's going to be healthier throughout a majority of the season? And that'll determine one seed. And hopefully this year when they play in the playoffs, one team doesn't have any quarterbacks left. You can't have no quarterbacks. Let's have one continue to be able to finish the game. Hopefully it's the starting quarterback so we get best on best. I was thinking we were going to get the Mahomes versus San Francisco matchup LA matchup from Monday Night Football a few years ago when the Eagles and 49ers were going up against each other. I was like, this is two of the cream of the crop. It's going to be knockdown drag out. And 2 minutes into the game, it was like, oh, well, that sucks. That's going to be tough to come back from.
And that's the thing, kind of what you were talking about is like the injuries, obviously, with these two teams, but like it's the NFL. Something's going to happen. Like, and Brian, that's what I'm saying. Who's going to emerge as this third team to push the Eagles and the Niners? There's got to be another team who is that team that you're thinking of that in the NFC that kind of scares you?
I think an underrated scary team could be I'm going to be honest with you. I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but the Chicago Bears, they had the really good off season. I think Justin Fields is going to take a next step. And I think that offense just caters to him right now.
Jimmy, if they're the third best team in the NFC, that is a massive jump. And then you're right, Brian, that Kyle Shanahan should get even more crap for trading up for Trey Lance. Just take Justin Fields. Trade up and take him. What do you think of that, Jimmy? The Bears, possibly?
I'm still not. I have a bias against Justin Fields, so whatever I say is not objective whatsoever. That's what we said at the beginning of the show. I'm sitting at the bar right now. I'm telling you how I feel. I've hated him since he was on QB1 back in high school. Him and Spencer Rattler were my two least favorite. So much? He's just conceited, and when he wins, he takes all the credit. When they lose, he doesn't get any of the blame. Like, he did everything that he could. It was everybody else around him going all the way back to high school. And then he couldn't win the starting job from Jake Fromm at Georgia and moved on to Ohio State. I just hate Ohio State in general. So it was really easy when he got there.
There's another guy over here who hates him too.
Yeah. I'm a bigger Michigan fan in that rivalry, but I don't even really care about Michigan anymore. I just love seeing Ohio State upset, which is why the playoff was good. It was a great game, and I got to see them cry and run off the field.
It's funny you bring up Spencer Rattler because he hasn't done anything since he left Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're interesting. SC might be interesting in the SEC. They're going to be better than they were a couple years ago, but I don't know what he's going to do. He's probably trying to stay in college a couple more years so he can make. He's not going to make any money in the NFL. He'll make more money NIL deal down in South Carolina selling cars in Myrtle Beach.
Brian, you got a big storyline maybe that we're forgetting about?
Just like, I don't know, it's going to be a different year for the Packers. They don't got Rodgers in Green Bay, and I just don't. I have to see what Jordan Love can bring for a whole year to think he's going to be good. I know Tyler was saying that they're going to win the division, but I don't know, man. I just have to see Jordan Love and see what he can do for 1 year.
He really loves Watson too, Mr. Watson. So I think he believes in Watson, but I think it's hard to, you got to remember Rodgers was throwing those balls to Watson last year. Like, you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Now, Love, what is his third year in the league, right, Jimmy? Like, I mean, this year he should be able to prove himself a little bit more than your average rookie quarterback, right?
He's the Trey Lance of the year previous. He was drafted a year before Trey Lance, and he had the same kind of experience where he's played like 12 games since he was a 17-year-old in high school. So I don't know. He might be good. He probably got screwed in the game that he started. I know it was close and it could have gone either way. This Green Bay team couldn't make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers. As non-Aaron Rodgers like of a season as it was, they still had a chance, and the Detroit Lions knocked them out. That sits in the back of their mind, and it sits in the back of their mind because they think of Detroit as like the trailer of that division. And they're the cream, they're the high and mighty, hoity-toity Green Bay Packers. Oh, our coach has his name on his name on the trophy. I don't think that's them this year. I think they are going to. It's going to be like that year. You remember when Favre went like 3-13? They were just awful that 1 year with him.
1 year, random year, yeah.
I think that's what it's going to look like this year because Jordan Love doesn't have Bakhtiari, he doesn't have Corey Linsley. All of the offensive linemen and the weapons he was supposed to have to help him when he was drafted are all gone because of that Aaron Rodgers saga.
Tyler, you hear that? They're not making the playoffs. You hear that, Tyler? They're not making the playoffs there, buddy. All right. We got that. I'm going to get to real and fake news now. All right. I got to get to that. So basically, I'm just going to give you a headline. You tell me if it's real or fake, kind of with what you think with that. I got a few of them here. I'm going to start out with the return of Sean Payton will turn Russell Wilson and the Broncos around the season and make the playoffs. Is that real news, Brian, or fake news?
I'm going to go fake news. I just don't, especially with Jerry Jeudy going out with that injury scare. It's just, I don't know. I don't think they have enough to compete with the top echelon AFC teams.
So as I'm looking at a man with the Rocky Mountains on his hat, let's get his perspective on that.
Oh, that's
Broncos as well. What do you got?
The media here was hyping up the whole versus Nathaniel Hackett. That week 5 matchup is going to mean something now. It's kind of, I think they are going to be better. They're going to be competent enough that we won't have to count down the play clock to the team on the field this year. But with the injury to Tim Patrick, who's going to now have to be again, relied on to be a locker room guy, but you would love to have a guy like that on the field. He can block. He's a leader. He leads by example. He would be your number one receiving threat. Besides Cortland Sutton, besides Jerry Jeudy, if all three are healthy, Tim Patrick is the leader and the alpha in that wide receiver room, which not a lot of people know because he's the undrafted guy. The Jerry Jeudy injury is going to suck. You're down to scraps. You're going to have like a 5th round tight end after you tried to draft a guy in the 2nd round out of UCLA who is only going to make the team because he was drafted high. You got to keep him around for at least another year. There's still so much. Like Nathaniel Hackett tore this thing apart. Like you took this team to a.
He ripped on him in the offseason, right? Didn't he take a little shot at him?
And then he tried to take a shot back. We were all in glass houses, dude. You were like a mechanic that was going, oh, I can fix your engine. And you like tap the wrench on it. And then the entire car just falls apart around it. And you're like, oh, that sucks. But you got the money to fix that, right? Well, yeah, our owners can fix it, but it's going to take some time. I can't just get the parts today.
Rich owners. You guys got rich owners.
So who do you got? Denver or the Raiders week 1?
Well, hold on. Is that real or fake news too? Is that?
It's fake. I think it's fake news that they'll get to the playoffs. If they do get to the playoffs, it means that Sean Payton is a way better. Because right now, I saw the comparisons going around. He's basically the same as Mike McCarthy, Hall of Fame quarterback. They only won 1 Super Bowl with him. If you take away those years, then their records average out pretty evenly. I think that if he makes the playoffs, then you move him up into that. He's not Belichickian yet, but he can be like he's on the cusp of winning another Super Bowl at that point.
He's definitely been seen as more of a genius, right? I feel like he's had that backing.
He's gotten the benefit of the doubt, and then Kevin James played him in some random Netflix movie.
They look exactly alike, right? They look exactly right.
And I love Kevin James. He's not a dick.
I like the fighty one. He's in the UFC fighty one.
I like that one too. That's Here Comes the Boom. We saw that on my birthday one year because it came out on my birthday. Yeah. But the Denver sports station plays a song whenever they play like a quote from the head coach, and Michael Malone has like the smooth jazz. And then after Sean Payton's comments to the New York Jets, every time they mention his name or they're talking about Payton, what he's going to do, no more Mr. Nice Guy. No more Mr. I was like, oh, that's great. The Avalanche coach is 007 because he's always in the 3-piece suit on the bench. We have to keep ourselves entertained. Nathaniel Hackett was the Imperial Death March.
Oh, you guys were like I said, 17 red zone appearances last year for you guys is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen ever. Brian, the Detroit Lions will not live up to the hype this season and fall short of the playoffs. Is that real news or fake news?
I know Casey wants real news because he said they're going to go.
Casey's got him in the conference finals.
I know.
Yeah, he's got him in the conference. I shouldn't say NBA conference championship. Not NBA.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go fake news just because the NFC is just such a low conference this year. They're going to have to get playoff teams, and I think the Lions will be one of them.
We got a guy here real quick, Dirty Fanatics United. Thanks for tuning in here tonight. Appreciate it. I've seen him a few times on TMB today. It's funny there at the Jivvy. What do you got there? Real or fake news? The Detroit Lions will not live up to the hype this season and fall short of the playoffs.
Obviously, this is fake news because I picked them to win the NFC North. I think they're going to win the division. They're going to get into the playoffs. Maybe they'll win 2 playoff games, which they didn't even do with Barry Sanders. And as a Bengals fan, now that we've had some success, if another franchise or another fan base needs something, I had a buddy in college who he's like, I understand your pain. My dad's a Detroit Lions fan. I said, yeah, but does he really? And then I thought about it. It's been since the 1950s since Detroit has been relevant and like a championship level team. That was before the NFL. That was just professional football where they would go to the mill and then play afterwards in the field behind the factory. So, yeah, I think Detroit makes the playoffs. I think they solidify themselves. Dan Campbell they finally found the coach that is that city. He is Detroit. He has that team where they need to go. It's weird to say, but I think that this is the year they're going to put it together. And now that I said that, they're going to totally fall apart.
That's usually how it works. That's usually how it works.
Jared Goff's going to tear his ACL. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to say that. We got 9 guys. We got 9 people here in the chat here. Appreciate you guys. Feel free to comment in. We'll bring up all the comments. We'll discuss it. Like Jimmy said, the bar at the end of the night with NFL here. So feel free to comment in. We'll get to you at any point on it. Brian, you were going to say something there?
I was just going to say that, yeah, I just think that the Lions just seem like they have momentum from last year, and I just like their team all overall.
Brian, we got a question here, and this is why we're good in the business here at Variety Sports Network. I'm gonna transition. Give me a second here. He goes, don't mean to interrupt on your old topics, but legit serious question from a diehard Falcons fan. What do you see from my squad ranking the NFC this year? Now, like a good neighbor, I'm here for you. We can transition from Falcons to that question as well. I got real or fake news, and Jimmy will add that question to it there. Will Bijan Robinson have 1,000 yards rushing and receiving this year? And that question is, sir, that was I'll put it back up there. That was asked. What do you got there?
Is that combined, the 1,000 yards? So rushing, receiving, he just have 1,000 yards.
So he has 1,000 rushing, and then he also gets 1,000 receiving.
He's not going to be 1,000 in his rookie year. He at some point might get to the level, because let's think about the guys who have done 1,000. It's Christian McCaffrey and it's Marshall Faulk. Those are the 2 currently that have been 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. So I don't think it's going to be a rookie year thing. But yeah, I think he can have 1,000 scrimmage yards easy. He looks like he's an athlete that can play at this level, and he's one of those. He's not a. Yeah, I see 15. I'm looking at the chat too. 1,500 yards does not seem like 750 would be a split that I could see definitely happening. He doesn't seem like he's going to need much to transition, and he's going to be the Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. You can put him out and he can run routes. So he's going to get himself paid. He's not in that running back, quote unquote, tier. He's in that flex. We were calling it the flex on our show this past week, because that's basically what it is in fantasy. So I think that he can do that. The Falcons, if things go well, like if they finally, because they had the year where they had all first round draft picks on their offense and were awful. And then last year, I remember I thought they were going to give us a tough game. I thought Mariota was going to make us struggle, and it was a total dog walking. And it wasn't like I don't really know why, because they're talented, and I like Arthur Smith. I think he's a good coach. I think that he can do good things for the Atlanta team, but they are so snake bitten, and they're going to hate me for bringing it up. And I guess I won't mention it by name, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. But I was in my college dorm, and I watched the soul of that franchise just exit the body, and it hasn't come back. It has not come back yet. And it could be this year where they finally put all the things together, and Bijan Robinson was the missing piece and the missing link, it's Desmond Ridder as your guy that you're going to go with. But come on. But I'm not going to say yes until I see it. If they start putting it together, sure, I'll jump on board. I'll give them their credit. I'll give them their flowers. But am I going to predict it at this point? No. I predicted it when you had all of your first round draft picks on offense, and that bit me in the ass. So no, I'm not really jumping on board your bandwagon at the current moment.
I feel like that Bijan Robinson pick is giving them some extra life there, as the fan base. As I'm listening to their show, it's kind of like that thing where you got this guy who's special. Can he stay healthy, and can you execute that specialness with it? Brian, what do you think with Bijan Johnson maybe getting 1,000 yards, 1,000 rushing?
I'm going to throw it right over to Brian, but I see the cornerbacks being hurt. Sure, that's fine. Joe Mixon had 4 touchdowns against you that game. That was the Joe Mixon show. It wasn't the Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon. Unless I'm mixing it up, and it was Carolina that I'm thinking about, in one of those 2 games, Joe Mixon had 4 touchdowns in the first half. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
I'm actually I'm trying to get ready for Niners season, so I'm watching Niners great games, and we played the Atlanta Falcons in the '98 divisional, so that's a good memory for them. But I thought it was like a underrated great game because we actually made a comeback at the end and almost pulled off the comeback. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Atlanta could be a sneaky good team this year.
I when we get into division predictions, I'm going to save that for my thoughts on that a little bit later with it. But that was kind of one of my things with it. Real quick before we get back to real and fake news, if this guy comments in, I'm answering a question. It doesn't matter when, where. If Rev is in, we're answering for you. Hopefully you can come back on. We get you back on like we had for talking the gridiron here. Jimmy, it's always great when he was on the show. Always been some good knowledge there.
My co-host
and again, a different fan than all of us, the Steelers fan there with it. So
we're gonna smoke you, Rev.
It's gonna Brian saying it.
It's gonna be down. Get ready.
Hey, Jimmy,
49ers.
Me and Jimmy have, or me and Brian have 50 push-ups on the line. Yeah, I'm picking the Steelers to win week 1 on the air. I'll do 50 if they lose the Steelers. I think the Steelers are gonna beat him a week 1. Bosa's not gonna sign. I feel confident.
As a dean, you're gonna be out of practice for those push-ups that you're gonna have to do. Not being a gym teacher anymore, you're not gonna have the time to just do like extra push-ups in the off season.
Hey, I'm still doing 3 classes.
I think to go to the Steelers, you can look at it might be a Ravens situation where, and that was incredible that streak finally came to an end, but it just might not be early. Like, I think Kenny Pickett could struggle because he wasn't like perfect at the end of last season. They were good and he got better, but I think at the beginning of the season, they're probably going to be struggling. And he looked good in the offseason because it's like in Major League. Oh, wow, Willie looks like he really has some power. Of a guy who's going to be bagging groceries in 2 weeks. That's you're beating up on guys that aren't going to be here. They're going to be in the XFL or the USFL. You're not playing NFL caliber secondaries yet. When we get to that point, I think the 49ers are going to have something for them. By week 5, they probably have it figured out. And Tomlin, the standard is the standard once again. But TJ Watt is always the X factor. TJ Watt could change things very quickly.
Oh yeah, they're always in like they're always in games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're always like right there in a game. That the Steelers to me are like, it's just a team I never want to play at Pittsburgh. That's like a tough game. It just feels like always, and it always feels like, and I'm sure as a Bengals,
we had 20 games in a row where we didn't sniff beating them in Heinz Field. 20 games in a row.
Yikes! That's not what you want. Can I stay in the AFC North there? I have a real fake news. Are the Ravens going all in on Lamar Jackson and the offensive weapons will put Jackson back into the MVP conversation and will put the Ravens back on top at the AFC North? Brian, is that real or fake news there?
It could be real, but
is it real or fake, Johnson? I gotta get it. I don't want it good.
I'm gonna say it's fake just because I think Cincinnati's a better team than Baltimore.
Suck it up, Jim. All right, I got it.
No way. That's not. I know Brian. He was gonna try and turn that back somehow to say the 49ers were gonna go to the Super Bowl again. The fact that he had to pivot to the Bengals, that hurt him. I know. Is he not sucking up? That's just that's objectivity. That's what that is right there.
You could tell you're right. For a second, he wanted to say it, any other team, but he let Chris Collinsworth was in his head.
Man. Every time we're on Sunday Night Football, that guy's always making like snarky comments at us or something.
Deebo Samuel isn't like a receiver like I used to be. I was a guy that would run down the sideline. I didn't have to line up in the backfield to score.
What do you think there, Jimmy, though, or with it, real or fake news with the Ravens there in the division? Obviously they might not win it, but what do you also kind of think about the Jackson part of their offensive weapons that they've also kind of acquired more than they usually have?
They are on paper better, but it is a totally new offense. And for the past few years when they've been really good, they've been using Lamar to run. And then obviously the last couple of seasons, he's had some injury issues. So they're probably trying to change that around. I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but I know the offensive coordinator that they brought in is like a Mike Martz type. Mike Martz, if you don't know, the greatest show on turf with St. Louis, that was all – shout out VSN, but that was all passing. He's like, I'm going to pass to set up my passing game. I ain't going to run to set up shit. I'm just passing straight off the ball. 5-step drop, 3-step drop. So I don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to thrive in that. And I don't know if the offensive coordinator is going to realize that. Like, think about Russell Wilson last year in trying to be this Peyton Manning-esque guy changing plays at the line, boxed yourself in so much. You totally took away your athleticism. If you take away Lamar Jackson's athleticism, that is a not professional level quarterback.
We were harsh on him that last Might be one of the last shows.
Is it harsh when he has won?
No, I'm not saying. But
I think he's won a single playoff game.
He just got paid like
and he's an MVP.
Yeah.
No.
I hear you. He got paid like it though. We know that. That he did get. He did get paid like it. They try to get Beckham Brian that to make him seem like that's the weapon as well to take him over the top. Odell. I got to see it from Odell again. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bum as a receiver, but there's just so many question marks with him, like with consistency and all that stuff.
I have a bone to pick with him. Did you see his quote after the Super Bowl? If I didn't tear my ACL, we win that 38-17. I was like, dude, you think you're way more special than you actually are. You are not that good. Trust me. Eli Apple is about to cover your ass.
He definitely has confidence, doesn't he?
That he does for sure. Brian, Aaron Rodgers will put the Jets atop the AFC East. Real or fake?
I'm gonna go fake. I just think the Buffalo Bills are a better team than the Jets right now.
I agree with this, by the way. Yes, Jimmy. Go ahead.
I want to say real, especially now that I've been watching like Hard Knocks and you get to see all the great plays from their training camp. Yeah. I can see them being a playoff team. I think they maybe take the Patriots playoff spot that they got a couple times behind the Bills. If the Bills don't have to deal with not playing in their home stadium and then going back to their home stadium and going to Cincinnati, having one of their guys die on the field, if they don't have to deal with any of that, they should be a fairly dangerous team and be actually ready to play in the playoffs. I said it on our show a couple weeks ago. I was so happy that they had the last week of the regular season before the playoffs started, because if it ended up going from that DeMar Hamlin game to the playoffs, the Bills beat the Bengals in that playoff game. They had given everything in that last regular season game, and the Bengals absolutely dominated, and it showed like, we're pretty much equal talent, but Josh Allen does not equal Joe Burrow. So Bills are good. Aaron Rodgers, like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't know. I think it's going to take some time. I'm thinking Tebow. I said it this morning. Tom Brady-esque in Tampa Bay. It was like week 7. I know that was a bad.
No, I was
watching Swamp Kings on Netflix. But
Tebow did play for the Jets.
That's what I was thinking too. He did.
He's going to be a punt protector. They're going to try and change him to tight end. I just have a feeling. Oh wait, they've already done that. That's my fault. I think that he'll be. It'll be.
Rev tuning here back with the AFC North group of death. Browns are the Browns, but even they got a stacked roster if Deshaun Crosby figure things out.
Deshaun Crosby. Wow. Say it right.
Sorry, I read that wrong. Crosby. I was thinking of Bobby Crosby, Brian. You know who he is.
No.
The guy that hit into the most double plays in Division Series history.
Yeah, all right, that's enough for baseball. We got there. We go Browns. I agree with him on the AFC North. That is a tough one for you. But the AFC East is also kind of feels that way. But then you have the Patriots, and you're like, the Patriots aren't there with it there, so you're like, that's not gonna work. So I don't know. We got here. Jets are looking nice on paper. Yes, they are. I saw the Hard Knocks. A lot of no look passes, Brian. They were talking about that the other day. Rodgers giving a lot of the no look passes, always with the mustache. He got it from Jimmy Pilato. Stole the idea, but he said he went from there.
I had gimmick infringement. He stole it from Nico. I told Nico I was infringing on his gimmick. He's gonna sue me here coming up.
Is this Mac Jones's last chance?
I hate that dude.
Yes.
He's the less intimidating Ndamukong Suh of quarterbacks. He's the dirtiest player, and it doesn't seem like a lot because it doesn't happen like every single week. But if you look back at it, he's tried to twist like 3 guys' ankles. He's tried to bite somebody. I'm pretty sure if he had a shank in his sock, he'd take somebody's kidney out if it benefited him in some way.
He would.
Mac Jones is a dirty player. That's all I'm going to say about that.
You wanted to hear that for 5 years. You probably loved it.
We interviewed that year, the COVID year. We had an interview canned with the punter for Alabama that season, and he was telling a different story about Mac Jones. And now that I've seen exactly who Mac Jones is on TV, I'm glad we never aired that interview. Let's just say that thing.
They lost to the Vikings in a Thanksgiving game, and he just chucked that. I've never seen a guy chuck a helmet so far, man.
He's the chubby. He's the son of a Karen. That's what he is, because he's kind of chubby. Remember his draft day suit where it's like it doesn't fit? His mom has just been every step of the way like yelling at the principal. No, my son did not do that. What are you talking about?
Don't say that, man. You know that. That's personal, right? I think that's too sensitive.
It's personal for me too. We have now we have vape alarms in our bathroom, Darren, because that's how bad our school got.
Vape alarms. I like it. We haven't got that bad yet in our school.
And Mac Jones was only good because he had loaded talent around him in Alabama.
Okay.
Three first round wide receivers
for all the Alabama. That's the case for a lot of them. Brian, real quick, I just want you. And this is kind of funny. Dallas Cowboys have the best QB room in the NFL. When ESPN tweeted that out or whatever, I wanted to slap them across the face. I mean, they've already lost me in the respect game, but I was like, the best QB, Trey Lance does not add anything to that whatsoever. But Johnson, question of the week here brought to you by Row One Brand. Use that code VSP15. You'll get anything off in the art gallery, 15% off. Use that code Johnson. I know you've been watching the 94 Niners game Monday night. I'll throw you a bone. Maybe you can get a picture there of Jerry Rice catching number 1 hundo there against the Raiders. So, all right, maybe that's one. I've seen that one on the website. It's a nice picture. Maybe you should get it as well. With that said, question of the week here, Brian, I got, is the 49ers decision to trade for Trey Lance the worst draft day move of all time, considering the picks they gave up, and now he's not on the roster, played, 2 games as a starter? Is this ranked as one of the worst draft day moves of all time? Curious to get your thoughts on it.
I don't know, Matt. Mike Ditka trading up to get Ricky Williams. Don't you think that was pretty bad?
I would say that would be right up there as one of the worst ones of all time. Definitely. Yes. They tweeted that. They said the QB room for the Cowboys was the best now because they had Cooper Kupp and whoever their other quarterback, and they're just ridiculous thing there with it. But Jimmy, I gotta say, I kind of think it might be I'm not saying it's the worst. I'm saying trade, not that the worst pick. We can go Russell, we can go Leaf, all that, but giving up what they gave up for a guy that played 2 games for him, that's kind of insane.
Yeah, this is why they compared him to Carson Wentz, because they went to the same school, but it was not the same. Carson Wentz was at North Dakota State for all of his eligibility before he was even looked at as considered to be draftable. That's what you have to do. When you go D1 AA, you don't get the fast track. You don't get to leave early. You have to play all 4 years, and you have to dominate and be the best and be the best by a mile. And he had a couple of games, but even then in that game that they set up just for him in the COVID season, he didn't really look all that great. So I don't know what they saw in him to give up 3 first-round picks to go get him when you had.
Do you think Kyle Shanahan said John Lynch draft him? I'm curious. From your perspective, we've read it here. Brian says no. John Lynch made the decision. I'm like, John Lynch was a freaking safety. How did he not ask Kyle Shanahan who he wanted in that draft?
Well, no, these are professionals. They have the biggest ego. They're always right. So John Lynch, as much as he respects Kyle Shanahan, he has always been correct over anything that anybody else says in that war room.
Yeah.
I don't know who made the draft pick. Whoever made the draft pick tried to stick to their guns, and then whoever didn't, so you take your pick. Whoever you like more in the scenario said, okay, well, he has the preseason to prove that he can be here. And then the other guy at the end of the preseason was like, well, he didn't fucking do that, did he? And then they were like, ship him off.
So
I mean, back in the day, they were saying that, Shanahan really wanted Kirk Cousins, but then Lynch went out and signed Jimmy. So this has happened before.
That's true. And Rev brings up a good point. Brock Purdy was who they traded up for. Trey Lance was Mr. Irrelevant. That is actually well said there, Rev. That is well said as well. Jimmy, Brock Purdy basically maybe saved John Lynch and cut Shanahan's job. Maybe. I'm just saying.
Well, because they have some pretty – the DeBartolos gave them pretty decent contracts, both of them. So they'd have to spend a lot of money to get either of them out of them. But yeah, that's the only saving grace right now, and the fact that they were still in the NFC Championship game saves them. It gives them another year. Because if they struggle this year, it can be, oh, well, Brock is coming off the injury. We might have to retool some things. We lost some people because you're a good team. You have to lose people when you pay more. You still have another season where Purdy's going to be on the cheapest deal that he can be, and you can if it doesn't go well this year, Brian, you guys can retool in next offseason and you'll figure something out. They're going to get something before Purdy has to get paid.
Purdy saved your life. Purdy saved your life. That was the bottom line.
But the way Purdy's looking in preseason, he ain't gonna start slow.
No, he looks like the real deal. He did last year. I've said that with you, but it is a weird deal with that. I mean, they just got bailed out. They made a good pick with that last pick, and he happened to get in a game last year, and he proved he could play. Like, it's not always a chance a third string quarterback gets in the game to begin with. So that was one of the things.
And to be fair, I want to say I did go into the draft saying I want Justin Fields.
You did want Fields. I know that. You have it on record. We've established that. All right. Hey, Jimmy, we don't have to spend all day on it here, but as we kind of just make our predictions here with each division, we can kind of go through it here in a few minutes, and we can kind of expand on more when we get to the wild card picks, Super Bowl picks next week on our show before the actual season starts. I thought it'd be good just to kind of start with our division picks, establish that with him. We can get into wild card and all that next week. I'm gonna start us off with the AFC picks. I'm gonna go AFC East. I got Bills winning the division. I got Dolphins, Jets, Pats. Who do you got, Brian, winning that division?
Yeah, I got the Bills, and then I got the Dolphins, Jets, and Pats as well.
You got the same as me, Jimmy. You got anything different there?
I'm going Bills and Jets are battling towards the end of the season to see who's going to win. Miami goes down to third because of the recent injury, and I just don't know if McDaniel seemed to be losing steam towards the end of last season. I know they kind of turned it back around, but that's
an interesting point.
I don't know. Don't know what it's going to look like, but I do think New England, they're going to have their last season of Mac Jones, and then Bill Belichick is going to have to hire an offensive coordinator, or he's going to be walked out and not allowed back at the.
I know our Patriots fan is trying to hype up some guy named Cunningham.
He's trying exactly.
Oh, Cade Cunningham, the guy who couldn't even start at Michigan.
They traded up. They got Tyrone Wheatley Jr. from Michigan as well. They got his dad went there. Okay, let's go AFC North. This is going to be the big only shocker for me. Is I got Titans winning the division, AFC South. Sorry, Titans winning the division. Jaguars, Colts, Texans. That's the only kind of like crazy.
You went back to the AFC, the Central AFC, when it was like the Steelers, Oilers, Bengals, and
that would have been nice if we did that. Then we could do that. But I got AFC South. I got Titans winning that. Who do you got, Jimmy, winning that division?
I'm trying to be consistent. I think I put Jacksonville because I liked what they did in the playoffs, and Tennessee. It's probably my bias because I love their podcast, but not having Luan, and they did lose another couple guys out of the locker room that I think are going to struggle. Vrabel will have them there, but I don't think they're going to win the division. The Titans are the best. Honestly, I think Tennessee Titans fans, if you're listening, if you're watching, you should want to be in the wild card spot because that's when you guys actually do something. You made it to the Super Bowl when you were a wild card team. You made it to the AFC Championship when you were a wild card team. You don't want to be the division champion, and then if you do that, you're losing in the first round.
Brian, who you got?
I don't know why people think Tennessee's any good. Tannehill's a dumpster fire, and I don't know.
He's good in front of the camera. That's I think why they keep him there, because he's really, and the shit they've had to deal with since the COVID season, he's been awesome. They could just throw him out in front of the camera, and they're like, okay, we're covered. Nobody's gonna say anything stupid.
I'm going to go
Jag. You got Hopkins, though. They got Hopkins. Come on. Does you have a little face? Come on.
Just like Tyler said, he's a slot receiver.
Tyler with the slot receiver. All right, let's go to the big one.
I haven't said my prediction yet.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I thought you said
I'm going to go Jacksonville, and then I'm going to go Houston, Tennessee.
Houston. Wow.
Yeah. Yikes. What?
Yeah. Ohio State, Jimmy, that right away for us is a red flag, picking an Ohio State quarterback to finish too.
Brian's a Stroud boy. Brian, I don't know if you guys listened to Pardon My Take. He's a Stroud boy, really?
It's Stroud boy. I have heard that a few times. I got you on that one. Let's go to your division, the AFC North. Brian, let's start with you. Who do you got winning the AFC North?
I'm gonna go Cincinnati, Baltimore, and then
Steelers.
Baltimore. And then
after that week 1 win versus the Niners, they get third place.
they're gonna get stomped week 1.
They're winning week 1. The Steelers are winning week 1 in that division. Jimmy, I got Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. Who do you got, sir, with a division you care the most about?
The Steelers, Kenny Pickett has to get his appendix removed before the season, so it's somewhat even with what Burrow had to go through last year. Lamar Jackson poops his pants 3 times this season, not just once, and it's going to be on national television and on local television, so it gets the most amount of exposure. And Deshaun Watson, he hangs out by the water bottles mysteriously. He hangs out too much by the water bottles. It's weird. You know that guy's history. You're like, you can't be over there. Please get away. Obviously, the Bengals win the division. I think the Steelers end up getting second. They could probably make that second, the wild card. I know we're going to get to that prediction too. Ravens with the new offensive coordinator, I think, sit at 3. And just because they have the guy who they have at quarterback, I'm never going to say the Browns are permanent number 4 in my predictions for the AFC North. Whether that's actually true or not, they're just always going to be. I'm always going to say they're
number 4 no matter what. I respect that with the Browns. I mean, history. You can't go against history after so many years, right? It looks like you're silly when you pick. But then the 1 year, Brian, my brother says Browns are going 10-6. They go 10-6 with Baker and somehow make the playoffs. The setup again. He pulls it off. The one miracle year there.
Now he's got to sue his dad for his money back. Jeez.
he's got to get him back for it. AFC West, Brian. I got Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. What do you got for AFC West?
Yeah, I go Chiefs, Chargers, but I'm gonna go Broncos, then Raiders because second half of the season is when you're gonna feel that Jimmy G. He gets worse as the season goes on.
His teams win games. He's so bad. He makes everybody else around him raise his level of play. And they say, okay, we have to step it up for Jimmy. We got to win these games. Who do you got? AFC West, Jimmy.
I'm hoping they beat the ever-living crap out of each other because my team is going to have to play whoever wins this division in the playoffs. So I really hope that it's closer. I hope that the other teams have closed the gap like I think. I guess since I want to be the one that's different, I'll say Chargers win because the Western Colorado blood runs deep with Austin Eckler. So Chargers will win the division. Chiefs will be second. They still make the playoffs. They probably still make my life miserable in the playoffs. The Broncos don't finish third. They're going to continue to be last. They're going to have to figure something else out. I don't know if I want Russell Wilson here anymore. I just don't like having his presence here. And
he's kind of a different guy to have as your leader, right? Like he's just kind of like
he showed up to the PLL games, and even Nico's like, "This weekend was awesome," but the fact that he had to show up was like that's a downer. That sucks. Him and Ciara, really? We can't have anybody else. Peyton Manning couldn't have made his way out. I think his sons actually play lacrosse.
And I've heard some stories about her, like she's not the nicest person in the world.
She didn't want to be here. She wanted to be in a big market. He goes, "Oh, let's go from Seattle to Denver," and she was probably like, "This, oh my god, this guy's stupid. This guy is dumb." He's like, "Let's go to it's a bigger market." Yeah, but I wanted to go to LA. I didn't want to go to Denver. It snows here. It's bad for my hair.
That's bad for my hair. Let's go NFC predictions, Al Johnson. I got NFC North. Let's go there, then we'll go to the South. I got NFC North first. I'm going to go Vikings still win the division. And then I'm going to go Packers. I'm going to go Lions. And then I'm going to go Bears. That's my division prediction for the NFC North. What do you got?
For the NFC North, I think I'm going Lions to win it. I'm going to say just so that I don't get taken out at home, I'm going to say that the Vikings get second. And the Bears, and then the Packers. The Packers will be last in this division. I think that they're going to be lucky to win 3 games. Are going to totally fall apart, sell everything off at the trade deadline, and finally get out of here. But yeah, I can't put Justin Jefferson as the guy who's going to win this division. I say Jared Goff.
Number 2 out of top 100. Did that shock you by chance? I'm just saying.
I didn't watch the top 100 this year.
I know, but just if I tell you he's number 2. That's crazy. I kind of thought that was kind of nuts.
Yeah, he's not number 2. He's a great athlete. But you know what happens to great athletes? They get hurt because they can't play the position the way their position is supposed to be played.
I'm kind of with you on that. I just kind of feel like that. I'm not saying he's probably obviously top 10, right, Jimmy, all that stuff. But like, man, top 2, I was like, wow, already. I know he did a math.
If he's top 3, they should be winning more than 3 games last season. Whether he had talent around him or not, he should have been winning more than 3 games.
I can't say that you're wrong about that, Brian. Who do you got for the NFC South?
Oh, I'm gonna go with the Lions to win the division, but I think the Bears surprise people and get the wild card.
Bears. You and those damn Bears. I got those damn Bears. I did.
Bears.
And then I'm gonna go Vikings third, and I think the Packers finish last.
What do you got for the South?
The NFC South. I'm gonna go with your boy Derek Carr from the Saints. He's gonna win the division.
Mr. Biceps, they're winning the division. You like that right there? Who do you got, Jimmy?
For the South,
Falcons?
No. Well, yeah, I was gonna say I might throw a bone to those guys.
This division is garbage.
It's so bad. The Panthers being shut out by the Jets' second team in the first week of the preseason. That's when I knew this was going to be the worst division in football. It went from the NFC least to now the NFC South. Just get out of my face. I don't want to see any of you guys play. I want to see you on my schedule, please, but I don't want to watch any of you guys have
somebody's got to win it. Who's winning it?
Atlanta. Atlanta wins it because I guess Desmond Ridder is going to be the best out of the rest of them. I don't trust Derek Carr. Derek Carr is going to have something awful happen, just like David Carr had something awful happen to him. So I guess I'll go Atlanta.
Ecstatic right now. But just think of this: like one of these teams is going to get a home playoff game.
I know, but I got the Falcons winning. I just think they seem a little bit more together. I don't trust Dennis Allen either. Like I'm not obviously that's another Raiders bias maybe I have there, Jimmy. But like Dennis Allen, Brian as the coach, I mean we went through that. Like I just don't. And Carr has people have this impression of Carr like he just was missing this and just missing that. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like I watched these games with them on the Raiders. I watched them blow multiple opportunities to win games where it's like, well, their defense sucked. Well, how about the games where they lost 16-14 to the Bears? How about last year where they lost that game? Was that
Max Crosby's been top 5 in sacks for the past 3 seasons. Their defense and they had Chandler Jones. What are you talking about? Derek Carr was the reason that team never got over the hump. They had the 1 year where he broke his ankle where I think he might have been able to do something for him. But Darren, you guys are the first team we beat in the playoffs in 25 years.
Thank you for my team hasn't won a playoff game since 2002. That's how long my Raiders.
And you know what they called that playoff game? They call it Whistlegate.
That's fine. Whether that touchdown was scored or not, we still win. We still have enough points to win.
I'm with you on that. That is keep sleeping on the Dirty Birds. Every team goes through down years. We got a way up. I'm with you.
How long did the down years last? How long? Can we start getting a little bit of an uptick? Just a little slight? This is like a Falcon. Like if we're going to stick with the Falcons, you got a bad wing, and I've been nursing you back to health, but I'm kind of running out of interest here. I'm kind of you got to.
John Robinson is hopefully that guy for him. That's the guy I think they're betting. Ritter still has a lot of question marks to answer. I mean, you have to be on. That's the one thing even as a Falcon. You're realistic. I mean, that's got to be the guy. You might believe in him.
I just don't think Bryce Young has any talent to do anything this year.
Do you think? Well, they got Miles Sanders out there. Then they traded though more to the Bears. I know that. Yeah, no, I agree with Rev on or that it's kind of rebuilding. I just Carr. It's just hard for me to. It's hard for me. That's a personal thing right there, Jimmy. So I don't think I could take that one.
Yeah,
we got here.
That's good. Yeah. You guys had the one playoff appearance. We are close to becoming you. I get it, but Joe Burrow is going to make sure that we are not Matt Ryaning ourselves out of a Super Bowl loss. We're going to get back there. Damn it! I bet you were back there before you. I bet you were back there before you.
Oh, that's a good bet. That's a good bet.
I don't know if you guys want to virtually shake on that or something. I don't know what you want to have on the line, but I bet you the Bengals are in a Super Bowl before the Falcons are. And we long after VSN, because maybe we both go just into dystopia and we lose and lose and lose.
What if the Bengals played the Falcons? That'd be the best. That'd be the best. That would be pretty good. That would be an epic.
That'd be the most random Super Bowl.
That would be a random.
Would we close it out? I don't think you guys have Aaron Donald that's going to be pass rushing in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter on Joe Burrow. So I think we'll get it off. Jamar Chase is going to cook Jesse Bates. Jamar Chase will cook Jesse Bates and score the game-winning touchdown against the Falcons in the next 5 years.
Shanahan out of the Super Bowl, Brian. That's your coach right there. That's your coach right there on the Niners. Just letting you know that is your coach there on the Niners. I got the Falcons. They got the. I just can't go with the Saints. Panthers. Nobody's taking the Bucks. Let's go to the East real quick. I got Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders. Maybe I should take I kind of want to put the Commanders ahead of the Giants now a little bit. I just don't believe in Jones. I just don't. It's nothing to do with him. Brian, who do you got winning that division?
I'm going Eagles, Cowboys, and I'll go the Commanders and then the Giants. I just think Daniel Jones got overpaid, and they're going to regret doing that.
I can't say you're wrong with that. What do you got, Jimmy?
It's interesting because I want to say the Commanders are going to enjoy a lot of success now that they don't have Dan Snyder. But I also said it on our show. Dan Snyder won. Dan Snyder beat the shit out of that city. He bought it for like $5.8 million, sold it for $6.3 billion, had ticket fraud, didn't report the earnings that he actually had. All of the worst things that you could do, should be facing like 45 plus years in prison. And he's going to get off scot-free making like $3.8 billion off the sale. And you were god-awful for the past 25 years after being the team of the 70s and 80s. And now this is where we are with Washington. So I want to say that you're going to have success, but I think you guys are going to be – it's going to take some time. I honestly think Washington can fall to the last team in this division. I think Philadelphia – I said at the beginning of the show, they're going to do everything they can to get Kelsey to win a Super Bowl so he can retire because he deserves that, and he's my favorite center of the past generation, so I would love to see that happen. If it's not the Bengals, I hope it's the Eagles. Cowboys – actually, I'll go Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Commanders because – Dak's getting stale. Dak's, you got to figure something out, man. Something. You don't have to figure it all out, but just give me something.
I know my guy Terrell wants the Commanders. You know him. He's I
don't want to talk about him because you have, he's talking so much. We don't play for 3 weeks, and you didn't have that great of a draft. I'm sorry. I guess I'll be the one to say it here. I got Jamar Chase in the second round. I don't care.
I can't wait till he's on with us one of these times. He's going to be great with it. Snyder is a terrible human. I can't type all I want fast enough. You boys send that invite over one night. We can discuss anything about the NFC South. We will definitely have you on, sir. Hopefully you can join us. We do the show. We're going to do it every 6:45 Sunday night.
Tell me how Jesse Bates sucks as an Atlanta Falcon. He's nowhere near as good as he was as a Cincinnati Bengal. That's what I want to talk about.
Exactly. We're going to get into a lot of things. We should have him. He's been good on John and Out of Your Falcon Mind as well. We definitely got to get you guys on. We're almost getting here. We're probably getting close to the fourth quarter of the pod here. One last division, though. Let's start with the NFC West. Who do you got, Jimmy, with the NFC West? We got Niners. I got the Niners, Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals winning the division. Who do you got there as Brian exits, afraid to answer the question, that little piece of garbage? I cannot believe it. Or a phone died. Hopefully that's the excuse. Jimmy, who do you got?
I'm going to say I think the San Francisco will win it. I think that Seattle's number 2. Everything that I hear about not sour. That's fine. He wanted more money than what he was worth. You guys paid him. That's good. We're all on the same page. But I think in the NFC West, the 49ers will win the division. But I think the Seahawks, everything that I've seen about their preseason, and it's kind of like what we said about Tomlin, Pete Carroll will just have the Seahawks doing more than what they should and overperforming what they need to. Like Geno Smith was nothing before last season, and now he's continued his progress. So I think they take second. The rest of the division, I think that Arizona Los Angeles would be better than Arizona. Arizona is going to be one of the worst teams in the entire league. I think they probably have a good shot of picking first overall next year, and the Rams will end up third, even with Aaron Donald and all of that other. They actually don't have that much talent left over, but Aaron Donald isn't going to save them this year.
Oh, the Arizona situation, I have no idea. I mean, Kyle Murray comes.
Is that video game clause still in the contract?
Did you see the sports bra he warmed up in with? My gosh, what are we doing there? I'm sorry.
He just wants to forget. He wants to. He's throwing us off the scent because he's been playing too much Xbox. He's like, oh shit, they know in my contract I'm only allowed 3 hours, and if you look at my gamer tag, I haven't logged out in 36 hours. So this is bad. I'm gonna throw a sports bra on, and hopefully nobody notices.
I agree with Rev, though. It's a 2-team division. The Arizona, I have no idea what's going on there at that spot with it. And next week, we'll get into our wild card picks, and we'll kind of get down and do our predictions to a Super Bowl. We'll kind of wrap it all up next week with a little bow. That'll be primarily the most of our podcast. Jim, as we kind of get to the end here a little bit of it, I got the NFL news and notes. Just kind of share a few things. You can, if you want to mention one of them, you can as well. Jacob signs with the Raiders, 1 year, $12 million deal with the Raiders. Good to see him back. Brian mentioned it earlier, maybe you as well. Jared Jeudy likely out several weeks with the hamstring. Bosa for the Niners still remains unsigned as well. Burrow, it sounds like he's going to play in week 1, but there is a possibility maybe he sits out week 1 as well with that calf injury. And like I said, Kyler Murray's still out. Patriots do make a small trade today for an offensive lineman with the Browns. Anything you got there, Jimmy, that you want to comment in, or one of those news and notes that kind of stand out to you?
It's so since I am the Bengals fan, I will say other Bengals fans, let's not try and rush Joe Burrow back. If this is truly just a calf strain, make sure that he's absolutely 100%. For the first few weeks of the season when everybody else sucks too, we can get away with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. Trevor Siemian was he's the best quarterback since Peyton Manning in Broncos franchise history. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know that. He started the most games and has the most wins.
I wouldn't have thought that.
The last over 500 season that the Broncos had, Trevor Siemian was the starting quarterback. So if it needs to be week 1 or 2 where Trevor Siemian starts and Joe Burrow is like 100%, okay, this calf is not going to bother me, then I'm good to play it. Now, if it's 0-2 after the first 2 weeks of the season, we're going to have to suck it up, Buttercup, because now I know we started 0-3 last year, but let's not try – let's not do that again this year. Let's get back, because it screwed us at the end of the season. We should have been the number 1 seed in the AFC. We had that game that didn't count, and then the tiebreaker didn't work because the Bills also had that game that didn't count. So we should have been the 1 seed in the AFC. Other than that,
so is it questionable that he's even going to play?
For the first week, I think he's questionable. Second week, I would almost guarantee that you see him. But for the first week, and it's the Packers too. So I don't think that they're going to see anything from the preseason that they're like, Joe has to play. They're going to be able to get by.
Real quick here, just got to shout out my guy, Dirty Fanatic. As we're about to wrap up the show, I was going to shout you out. So good thing. Good show, guys. Catch you on the next one. Bengal fans love chopping it up with you. Hopefully my team will make you put some respect on your name this season.
At least I have a quarterback to be asked without. You guys are asked with all your quarterbacks, so I have a quarterback that I can be asked without. That's fine.
Dirty Fanatics, we're here. Like we said, we're the bar here at the end of the night here on Sunday nights. We're gonna be here if you would love. I think we got to have them on now. We're gonna have to reach out to you.
This is gonna be pretty much every week because I'll go at anybody.
Yeah, well, and that's what Jimmy does great with it. He does an awesome job talking trash with it. He does his football, and Dirty Fanatics, we appreciate those comments. Keeps us going, keeps us motivated with it. And like I said, even if you can't jump on the show, even if you have to comment in, that's a good way to contribute to it. And we appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to watch Talking the Gridiron Season 2, Episode 1 there with it. So, yeah, really appreciate it here. Shout out to you and your podcast as well. So you guys have been growing up there as well. So good job with that as well. Shout out to your Falcons, hopefully. Brian, what do you think? Bosa still remains unsigned. That big news for you. Are you starting to get nervous at all?
I think Monday we're going to finally hear Bosa signs the massive extension.
You said that last Sunday. That's good. You said that last Sunday. I don't know. That will be interesting to see if he ends up making it all the way there with it. I think there's a chance if he does, he signs very last minute. All Tyler cares about is week there for week 1. I agree. All right, my last topic of the night here. We'll call it a show here. Jimmy, we've been talking about it. Hail Mary. How many football leagues is too much?
I don't think there is too much. My dad likes to, every time that we're at some kind of function, and now that my brother and I are coaching the youth football and we're teachers and it's funny because it makes sense. But like there was one year where my mom accidentally bought all of the sports channels, not just the NFL Sunday ticket, but like all of the sports channels. So we not only got NFL, college, high school, CFL, we were getting high school games on Tuesday.
You were loving that.
But it was on every night, and we got our money's worth. So I don't think that there's so much. There's not such a thing as too much football.
How many leagues are you in right now? Then you think?
Right now,
You're estimating.
I'm in 3. Are we talking fantasy leagues or like leagues just in general? Because I'm in 3 fantasy leagues between the teachers, the one that we're both in with Terrell, and the VSN one, and then I'm going to be coaching flag football for the district. I'm coaching in Pop Warner, which is a national syndicate, which could go all the way out to Florida at some point. My life is consumed by football. I have no days where I'm not thinking about some kind of football going on.
So me and Brian talked a little about this today on the Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports, but over 60 million people in the United States play fantasy football. The average fantasy football player, I thought this was interesting, Jimmy, spends 9 hours per week managing their team. That's why I was asking about how many. It generates over $7 billion, and 80% of the people are male that play fantasy sports. I thought that was funny as well, but 9 hours per team, that seems a lot, but maybe that's what it takes to win a championship, right?
You want a good benchmark? So the NCAA limit for weekly contact that the coaches can have is 20 hours. So as much as 9 hours might seem like, all of the NCAA practices, meetings, and games that you see equal about 20 hours. Now, they kind of fudge the numbers. I shouldn't say that, but they do a little bit. It's more like 23, 24 hours a week. But that's 9 hours is not so bad when you consider the amount of time they're putting in.
Brian, how many do you have right now?
Right now, I have only 2 that I'm doing, but I'm going to be doing some random ones in ESPN pretty soon.
We got to do our VSN draft here soon. I'm not sure what it is. I keep checking on that app.
I think it's full now. I can't remember. It doesn't have a date. I don't know. I can't remember. I think is it Saturday Showdown who's running it? I'm not running it this year, thank God.
Yeah, either him or Brandon. We're gonna have to check it out. Not me running it.
Nico and I were so quick when we do you want to run the fantasy league? Nope. Okay, yeah, we're not doing that.
Not doing that one. The fantasy, that's a tough one. Whoever runs that, mad respect for you that one there. Yeah. So I always like to, after the fantasy draft, like to go with you're talking about with Terrell. I like my team. Yep. Here we go, baby. I got that guy I wanted right there. 3rd round. That's the steal. We got it. I love my team. I love that. And then the optimism. Oh, damn it.
We will be perfect.
I forgot to check
in every aspect of the game.
God, he has a bye. No. And you forget that, Jimmy. You're like, oh, no, he plays Sunday morning at 10. I thought he was an afternoon. People start stressing out about all the
fantasy football was fun now, but not anymore, though, is it? Is it? No, not even a little bit.
Well, like Brian said, they made a whole darn show on FX about fantasy football, for goodness sakes, right? So, I mean, that tells you how much people love fantasy football.
I think it was called the League or something.
Yeah,
I love that show. That is a top tier comedy / that's that was one of the shows that had a drinking game that if you got a 36 rack of beer, it worked perfectly for like 4 or 5 episodes, and then everybody was ready to go to sleep. But it was awesome.
Definitely was one of them.
Taco's songs were amazing. Yeah, I love the league. I will still. I have Hulu solely so that I can go back and watch the league every now and then.
That's a great show. It really is. I love how they got NFL players to come on once in a while there as well.
Chad, please.
Yeah, exactly. Chad Ochocinco is on there. A few others. John, appreciate you tuning in, man. And we're about to wrap it up right now as well. I want to wrap it out with some shout-outs. Shout out to you guys out of your Falcon Mind on VSN. Dirty Fanatics United tuning in. Rev tuning in. Appreciate your comments. I can't wait to get you back on the show here on Talking the Gridiron. Tyler tuning in as well. We had as many as 11 people in the chat, 11 people in tuning in at one time. It was great to have you guys tune in for our first episode here on Talking the Gridiron to get the year started. Jimmy, with that said, I know we're going to be back at it now next Sunday, 6:45. And we'll probably get into, like I said, we'll probably focus now on more of the Super Bowl predictions, go a little bit more with the wild card, and probably get into some news or maybe the week 1 best matchups and stuff like that as well as we start to get forward to it. Man, I'm looking forward to doing another season with you. It's kind of funny that we're on season 2. It's kind of funny to say that.
Yeah, and now, like, when you said season 2 this morning, I was like, wait a second, I just wrote down season 3 for something. Oh yeah, Rev and I are doing season 3 at Top of the Mountain. So I got football podcasting and football far into the bench. We record Tuesdays or go live Tuesdays, and then Thursdays is when I'll record Top of the Mountain. Then Sunday Scaries, which I want to continue on because that's a lot of fun for me. So I got I'm kind of packed out, but here's the thing: I ran into my college radio partner last night at one of the high school football games. He's broadcasting for one of the streaming services. And as much as I enjoy like the teaching career, I will tell you guys straight up, but I said this on my show this morning, I was jealous. Like, oh my God, why did his life break the way where he got like the lucky break where he's broadcasting what we wanted to do, what we both did in college together. And, so it kind of kicked my ass into gear. As much as I think we've done well with the far end of the bench, I said it on my show this morning. The content that you're going to see from our channel is going to be second to none. We're going to step everything up. I'm going to try and do my best with the teaching and coaching and all of the podcasting. Far end of the bench at FEOTB Pod. Subscribe, follow now, because I am remotivated to oblivion. Here is what I'm trying to say.
Hey man, when you're teaching 5th graders for a whole year for the first time, that kind of burns a little with it. And I'm gonna be honest with you. You said that. I told Brian this. I was feeling the same way about 3. I told Brandon this a little bit. Like, you kind of have this point where you're just kind of a little fatigued a little bit. You got to kind of reboot a little bit. And like you said, we're doing a lot. And like I said, working out of school for us, you're taking on a lot of different personalities, a lot of kids. And sometimes at the end of the day, if it's a bad day, you're kind of drained. Not saying other jobs aren't important, but I can relate to that feeling with it. So I'm glad that you kind of got that extra juice there just in time for selfishly for our show as well. But I'm glad that we can make time to kind of make this show happen, because it is kind of fun to because as the games happen, we're going to be reacting to the games that happen that day. That's different than most shows bring to the table.
We're VSN's Football Night in America, baby.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. I like it. There you go. There you go, Brian. I like that. You love that show too. I love that. Brian, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate
no problem. I want to be here all season, and just tune into the TMB podcasts. We're going to be there all season, and I think we're going to try to do a preview, like a 49ers preview for the season and stuff like that.
No, you guys have been doing one every week now with the Team B podcast. Niners should be a good team to talk about. It'll be interesting we got to get more. That's our goal this year on Talking the Ground. We're going to have more guests on throughout the year. We're going to be reaching out. Might have like a panel of 4 or 5 sometimes out here. And like I said with Jimmy, we don't care if you're on for 5 minutes and you leave. We just want this to be a spot where people can talk football, right? Like, that's the idea of our show. Like, just be it, whatever. We're here for it.
I was at a family reunion the other week, and I recruited a couple of my crazy cousins to be like our crazy sports callers, because I was like, that's the best part of live sports talk radio. Yes. Give me your crazy takes. And I'm friends with one of my cousin's husbands on Facebook, and I was like, your takes are friggin' out there, but you definitely stand behind them. And if you can argue them, I guess I want you on the show. Please come on the show. So Ben, if you're listening, if you're paying attention, we want you on the show.
And you might need us week 1 because it's Dallas versus Giants. So
there you go, Dallas week 1. Nobody wants to watch that one all the time, right? NFC's favorite. No, just kidding, right there. No, watch the game, but watch us too at the same time. Come on in if you're not able to join us with it. It keeps us going. All right, boys, that was a good season 2, episode 1 show. Jimmy Pilato, I know you got an hour ahead, 9:00 there. You got school party tomorrow. Have a good week there, sir. We got 3-day weekend though with Labor Day coming up. Yeah. Brian, the main man Johnson, for joining us. For Jimmy Pilato, for Brian Johnson, I'm Darren Breyer, talking the Gridiron. We're out. Peace.
This is Brandon, CEO of the Variety Sports Network. Thank you again for watching tonight's show. Best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, that like button.